Alright, so today's video, we are going to be working on the 5.3 from the Nova. If you haven't watched the previous videos, definitely go watch them. Added TRZ upper lower control arms, steering rack, replaced this cross member with chromoly, that one with chromoly, all that stuff. So now I'm going to pull the cylinder head off because I'm getting some water leaking. Now you can almost see it, this white stuff, which I only run water in here because I race it, obviously. You're not supposed to run antifreeze. But I did notice when I pulled the motor out that, or the engine out, that there's like lots of white crusties in here, which I'm assuming is because it's an aluminum block and I'm running straight water, which is new for me, obviously, because I used to run iron blocks. So I probably should be putting water wetter in. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit of leakage just from around where this tab is right here. Just dripping water out of here. So we're gonna pull this cylinder head off and we're gonna take a look. I got a new gasket for it already. I do have another set of cylinder heads if I did some kind of damage. I'm hoping it's just a head gasket. Here's the other side. Same there, and this side was all good. No leaking, and it's not leaking into the engine, just out of the engine. Like not into the oil, just out through this spot right here. So let's pull this head off. All right, so first thing to do is take the valve cover off. I'm also gonna pull the oil pan, take a look inside, make sure everything looks okay, etc. Of course, that gun sucks. So let's crack these loose with this. Probably should have charged the battery. Yeah, the battery sounds like it's dead. Of course, right? Preparation's the key. It's like I went to start this video, checked the SD card, and it had 5 minutes left on it. I have another one, but it's at Mike's. He has it. And so then I had to go and delete some things off the file that aren't needed to have enough room to hopefully make this video. Because if I have to transfer it onto a flash drive, it takes forever. I should have done it last night. I should have known better, but I didn't. I need to order some more micro SD cards. I'll look on Amazon tonight and get some because this is dumb already. But alright, so just as I was saying that, I got an SD card error and it stopped filming. So hopefully the SD card isn't mad at me. I wasn't saying anything bad about the SD card. Okay, so there's the rockers. And we got the push rods. Alright, so this engine has China studs. Still amazes me how little head bolts these engines have compared to like a Chevy small block. Oh, that one the stud came out. There's no shavings of aluminum on it. I thought, well, that's the one right near where it's leaking, so maybe this one actually could be a little tighter too. Can't remember. I must have put anti-seize on these, I would assume. I don't know. I don't remember. All right, now we'll get these little ones. All right, so let's pull this head and see what we see. Come on. Multi-layer head gaskets and studs for you, I guess. I don't know if the head or the gasket's sticking to the head or to the block, I mean. Yeah. That's what it is. It's the second time I got an SD card error. I don't know. I don't think it's ever done that before.
think the gasket, it's sticking to the cylinder head. And I prefer if it would stay on the block and then just pull the head off. There's definitely water coming out of this area here. I've never taken these heads off, so I don't know. There we go, finally. Sheesh. All right, so from looking at it, it almost looks like it wasn't 100% sealing here compared to there and there. Like there it looks light colored. I don't see any damage or anything wrong with like the cylinder head here. It looks fine. And as you can see, it's all the same color, so if there was water getting in there, it would clean the top of the piston off and everything, and it all looks the same. So let me get this gasket off and we'll take a better look. All right, so I finally wrestled off the gasket. So the block looks good, and you can see the carbon ridge on the outside of the cylinder, which basically should show that no water was getting in, that it was just, it must have just been like from this hole right here or here, you know, it was just seeping out a little bit. And I mean, if you look at the gasket, like I said, you can kind of, I mean, it's kind of bent right there, which doesn't really make any sense. And there it looks good. Like there's no real blown, you know, burnt out spot. Except for, like I said, you can kind of see here. So I don't know if, you know, I don't know. I am glad that there's nothing that I can see here wrong. I obviously will inspect this a little closer for cracks. I don't know what keeps going on, why I keep getting SD card errors. Maybe because I didn't clear the whole card off? I don't know. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I'm going to clean the surface of the cylinder head, clean the surface of the block. If everything looks good, put a new gasket. Maybe I'll get some copper coat or that. Man, I keep getting those SD card errors. I'm gonna have to reformat this card. I don't know. Anyways, so these are the two bolts. This
goddamn son of a bitch!
All right, guys, so I'm trying to use my phone now because I keep getting that SD card error and it's pissing me off. We're gonna use my phone for right now. Maybe it's even better than the GoPro. I don't know. It's a Samsung S20 Plus, so it should be pretty good. Little recap, we got the cylinder head, we got the bolts, and like I said, these two, this one's like got crap on it, and this one's rusty, and these ones look like brand new. And those two are the ones that were here, oops, here, and here. So obviously that part hasn't been sealing. And the thing is, it could have not been sealing for a while. I don't really know because, I don't know. I just noticed water dripping, but it could have been dripping before and I just never noticed. So what I'm gonna do now is I'll probably scrape this with a razor blade just to get the crap off. Same with the head. And then I'll get my Durablock with some sandpaper and go over it, make sure it's flat, and then also look for like anything that doesn't look quite right. Like I said, the thing I was most worried about was the block had a crack of some kind in it. That would have really sucked. But since that's good, and the cylinder head, from what I can see, we're good. I have spare cylinder heads, so that wouldn't be a big deal. I do have a spare block too, one of these, but I don't know how good the bores are, so then I might have to bore it, and then I'd have to get pistons, or I'd have to find another block, which I don't want to do. So I'll see if I can figure out how to set this phone up on the camera stand so that I can still continue filming while I do this. Now we're gonna scrape. I'm not worried about getting stuff in the cylinders. I'll blow it out after. Obviously change the oil later. Oh, I don't want to get, try not to get a bunch of crud type stuff into the lifter.
buckets here because then those might be a little harder to clean out after. There's not a lot of dirt on here. There's probably mostly just the old gasket material. I've had this engine in the car now for I think around 3 years, 3 or 4 years. This is the first time I've had to take it out. And really, at the end of the day, you know, like I said, it wasn't like a blown head gasket in terms of you know, oil in the antifreeze or in the water or vice versa. Like, it was just leaking a little bit. So I can live with that. I just want to kind of get any big chunks of anything here off with this, and then we'll get the block with some sandpaper, and we will give her a sand. Like I said, I don't see anything wrong there, which definitely makes me happy. I want to get this engine back in ASAP, and then reseal the transmission. And also, I was looking at buying a transmission, basically like a breather tank. They make them, they're small rectangles, they bolt to the front of the transmission, and it's so that if any transmission fluid gets pushed out the breather, instead of going on the ground, it goes into this breather. So I've been kind of looking at those, and I'm thinking about trying to make one, because I looked on Summit and they're like $125 American and up, which doesn't really make sense to me because it's just nothing really to it. So yeah. Oh, a little bit of brake clean, and the pistons cleaned right off there. All right, so I'm gonna finish this and then find the sandpaper and stuff to give it a cleaning. All right, so now I got some sandpaper. Of course, all I have is 400. I think when I did it before, I used 220 or something, but we'll use a little kind of wet sand it to keep it from sticking in. I mean, I don't want to I'm just cleaning it anyways. Like, I'm not trying to take any material off. I just want to clean the surface and make sure that everything looks good. And really, if there was a spot that was like low or something, you'd be able to see it. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, could it have just saw a little too much boost and, I don't know, it pushed the gasket a little bit? Or, I mean, obviously it's just the one and it's right in the middle, which is also kind of weird. When I got this engine, the surface of the block, like what I'm cleaning up here, it actually had like machining marks on it from when it was built. You can still kind of see them if you look. And so I sanded them with this, with a little bit heavier sandpaper to, you know, my hope was to make them nice and flat. And the cylinder heads also were like that. So I don't know if that had any bearing on anything. But I mean, that looks pretty good to me. I don't see any cracking. So I mean, everything looks good. I don't see anything like cracks or anything like that. So that's good. So now I'll do the same thing to the cylinder head, and then it'll be ready to go back together. All right, so here's the new gasket, the LS9. I don't know, it says American made, and then it says Germany. Why won't this thing focus? Jeez. Okay, I totally could see it. I gotta go really slow. Germany. American made in Germany. I don't know. I got some of this high tack, which we usually use on like the shit horse gaskets and stuff. So I'm going to spray it with some high tack because it can't hurt. And it'll be ready to go on. But it does look nicer than the one I'm taking off. So yeah. Alright, so I sprayed the gasket with the high tack. And apparently it looks like I committed a murder. Can was just shooting everywhere. I don't know why. It was all over my hands. And then here's the cylinder head. So that cleaned up really nice. Did the same thing as I did on the block. Ooh, that red paint stuff is so shiny. I wanted to drop the gasket down before the bolts because it seemed like a real pain to get off, so I don't want to chance damaging anything. These are the LS9 head gaskets, which some people say you shouldn't use on a 5.3 because they're bigger bore size, but a lot of people say they work great, and yeah, I don't think there's an issue there myself. So of course we won't know until we put it together and get it running, but I don't see anything else. The only thing I see that looked bad was the gasket. So we're putting a new one, and we shouldn't have an issue. And I am thinking about taking that other aluminum block that I have, maybe getting it bored and putting some pistons in it, maybe those Summit series or whatever forged pistons might be nice. Some aftermarket rods too, maybe. I don't know. See how far this takes me, I guess. And this is a stock bottom end. It's amazing how much power it can handle. I'm also not looking to go, low 8s or 7s or. I mean, it went 930. The car's gone 913 with the nitrous combo. It'd be cool to run an 8. I don't care. I just like to drive my car in the street and have fun with it. If it doesn't go fast, it doesn't go fast. That's okay. Alright, let's drop this bad boy on. And there, it drops on like nothing. See, so it was obviously just the gasket the last time. Whoop. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ooh-wee! I thought I lost that washer. Well, now it looks fancy with the red sticking out of there. That looks like red chrome. Just finished, I wouldn't say binge watching, but definitely watched all 4 seasons of Rick and Morty. And pretty funny. If you haven't watched it, you should. And if you do watch it, post in the comments below. Tell me that you watch it. Tell me who your favorite character is. I like Mr. Poopy Buttface myself. He needs to be in more things. And the Meeseeks is funny too. Mr. Meeseeks. We got old Bendy out, and we're gonna torque. So we're gonna go like, I think I'll do it like 20, 40, just to be on the safe side, and then go to like, I think they were like 80. I checked them before I loosened them off. Some people go more with studs or less, I don't know. When I put this engine together the first time, I mean, I did do all the like rod bolts and mains and everything with one of those angle torquey thingamabobs. But I mean, these aren't factory bolts, these are studs anyways. Let's see what this one is at. Yeah, it's at like 70, somewhere around there. So I'm going to 70. That's kind of what those ones are at. I know Mike, when he put the heads on the Sonic Stang engine, he went to like 95 or something, which isn't necessarily, it can work. I'm just scared that the stud's breaking or something like that. Okay. So that's basically it. Let's just double check them. that they're all like the same. I don't know. A lot of guys say that Clayton hates this thing. People say that it's no good. I don't know. I've always used it. Maybe it's a superstition thing. You know, it was my dad's. That's when I learned to build engines. I used it on my first ever engine. I don't know. It's never really done me wrong, I don't think. I feel now that if I switched away and went to a, you know, regular torque wrench, clicky, fancy, whatever, and I think, oh, you know, it won't be good, and then I'll be like, well, shit, see, I shouldn't have switched. I don't know. I'm sure other people out there have superstitions or whatever you want to call them. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
All right, so I'm back on the GoPro, and I was back on the GoPro, and I started using it, and it started doing the same thing again. I cleared the card, I reformatted it. It was still giving me a hard time, and then I reformatted it on the GoPro. Still was giving me a hard time, and then ended up resetting the GoPro back to factory settings. Now it seems okay. So the engine, I cleaned it, just with some brake clean, and drained the oil. So now ready to pull the pan. I was also looking at the head gasket a little closer, and I noticed that around this cylinder, there's, if you see the, right here, it's like, whereas this one and on this one, it's not. So something must have been getting pressurized here. So maybe some combustion, or like when boost was coming on, was escaping that way, and that's what was kind of damaged the head gasket, I'm guessing. Hopefully it's gonna be okay now. So yeah, we'll pull the oil pan, take a peek in there, and then I want to reseal these plugs here because I think they leak a little bit. And then we're gonna be ready to put the engine back in. I just put this pan on. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it. This is a Holley, it's not a Holley pan, but it's the same as a Holley pan. This pickup tube actually has 2 bolts, one on each side, which from the factory it has only 1. So here's the inside of the engine. Gen 4 rods, stock crank, etc. Nothing super exciting. It's the usual old thing. It's really torn. I don't really even want to take it apart. Like, I don't want to touch it because everything's good with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to do a visual inspection. Like, I don't even want to take the oil pump pickup tube off again because I don't want to mess with the O-ring, you know? I'll just take a look inside, kind of see what I can see here, and then just probably put the pan back on. Like I said, I'm pretty sure these are leaking. I think I put thread sealant on them. I should have, but yeah, look at this. It's dirty in there. That oil gets black like right away. I think, like I said, because I don't run any kind of air filter, you know, you're sucking in lots of dust through the turbos, and just got to change the oil more, that's all. All right, so I ended up pulling this off. Just cleaned it out in there. I didn't notice any shavings, any metal, anything like that. Same with in here. I mean, the engine looks super clean inside. You know, pretty much what looked gross is sitting in the bottom of the pan, which I think is dirt from sucking in dust and stuff. But I'm not going to take any of the main caps or rod caps off. I don't want to touch it. It's good. You know, like, why bother? I can pull the pan off in the car if I really need to, but I think I'm just going to reseal it up and call it good. I did not do it when I put the new oil pan on, so then now I'm worried that that's maybe why I had a bit of leaks. Is what I had done when I originally put the engine together is I just put a little bit of silicone in the crack right here where the
engine meets the front cover. Just like that. A little worm there. And then a little bit, same thing on this side. Does it do anything? I don't know. I mean, there is a part seam there. So if it's gonna leak oil from anywhere, it probably would be there. So we'll put a little bit just on the block side. I want to get back to work on the GTO because it needs to get done. But I have been having fun doing the fab work and things that I had to do on the Nova, so that was cool. I could have changed the head gasket on the car. It's kind of a pain. You know, I'm at the racetrack setting. I guess I would. You can get a good look at the coils, how they're mounted underneath. A lot of people ask about my coils, where they're mounted and all that stuff. And I wish on the S10 that I had room, because I really hate the coils being on the valve cover. That's one of the things about LS's that I really don't like the look of. All right, so I was thinking about putting the engine in. It's ready to go in. And then I remembered that I wanted to make some like covers for these frost plugs here. So these are core plugs for when I guess they make the cylinder heads when they cast them. And then they put these frost plugs in, but behind the frost plugs is antifreeze, right? Like water. It's part of the casting. So if these push out, water's gonna go on the ground and etc., right? So they do sell them. Motion Raceworks sells them. They're 70, 80 bucks or something a set, but pretty much all it is like a flat piece like that goes over top. The ones they have actually go in right into the frost plug, but I mean, really, I think if you're covering it, then there's no way the frost plug can push out. So what I'm just gonna do is I made a little template. I mean, I could just leave them square too, because you can't even see them, but if I cut them kind of like an egg shape or like this teardrop shape, drill a hole in there, and then just bolt them on. It's simple as that. Just a little bit of security. And I mean, really what you could do too, like I could cut out a circle, put it in there and weld it in, or you could just take a bolt, a little piece of anything, and just kind of put it in there, right? And then put that little cover on, bolt it on, done, right? See, I could use, I mean, this is aluminum. I do have this. I could, yeah, I don't know if that's really necessary. I don't know if I want to go that crazy. All right, so I made one. So there it is. So there's basically nothing to it. What I was doing was using my bandsaw, and then the blade broke. Maybe when I make, like I'll make two more for the front of the engine. Maybe I'll try to make them a little nicer or rounder, or, you know, I don't know. All right, so there they are. I drilled the other hole, put it in there, put it in there. That should work, I think. Should work. So, what do we say before we end this video? We drop the engine back in the car. Sounds like a good way to end it. Some call it a motor plate, you know, but some call it an engine plate. Nobody calls it an engine plate, actually. Everybody calls it a motor plate, even though, you know. Whoa. Calm down there, Mr. Engine. I'm trying to be careful because it wants to turn the engine. And I don't want it to scratch my paint. Okay, so this, now that we're kind of getting in position, I mean, it's easier because it has the motor plates, but then there's also not really any way to know. You know, I totally knew that was going to happen. I just knew it. All right, so there it is. The engine is officially back in there. And with the steering rack, and everything fits, and everything's in there. Lots of clearance here, etc. So there we go. So in the next video, we will start putting the engine stuff back on, headers, turbos, etc., etc. The only thing I'm not sure of is I used to have the exhaust that goes here. I had kind of like a mount on the exhaust going to the steering box, which is no longer there. So I was going to try to do something about it this morning, but I wasn't sure about where the engine sits and all that. So I figured I'll wait until the engine's in, and then if I have to, I can pull this inner fender out to get in there to weld like a tab on or whatever. But we'll worry about that next time. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out all the other videos if you're new. Think about subscribing. It's free. We'll check you later.